What's going on, everybody? This is John J Gaming on the mic here, coming at you with a brand new episode of the FCS Dynasty here on NCAA 06, one of the greatest NCAA games of all time, as we jump in midway through year number 3, week 7 action, as we get some clarity on who's the true contenders and who's just a pretender. So we got 8 games on tap for this episode. Should be a fun episode to watch, so make sure you go ahead, smack that like button, hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand new to the channel. As we jump right into the first game of this episode, we got Akron and Buffalo, as Jones in the Heisman Trophy conversation gets intercepted right away here late in the first quarter. And hey, it took us an entire quarter of football to do it, but we finally get an interception as the number 15 ranked Buffalo Bulls, they will take the lead here early at home against his number 11 ranked Akron squad. And Jones running into some severe trouble early as he's going to throw a second interception on the draw of the game. This time also going for a pick 6. He was trying to get it out to Lawrence, and Buffalo jumping out to an early 14-0 start, as we'll see if Jones can bounce back, or is it going to be a long day for the Akron Zips? And that's one way to redeem yourself. Terrence Jones bouncing off a defender and takes it into the end zone all by himself, and Akron gets it back down to a 1-score game. But Buffalo, they are coming out strong and they are coming out hard. 21-7 lead here midway through the second quarter, looking to get back into the FCS playoffs. They were participating in year number 2. As now, first and goal from the 8-yard line late in the first half, we'd see Mark Subar, the true sophomore, able to win his one-on-two. He was double teamed and they still couldn't card him, man. That is absolutely insane. As Akron is they're going to make this a ball game now. 21-24 being the score, is still a close game. And we'll see if Akron can actually have their first lead of the game, but that's also intercepted. It gets picked off. Joel Smith is going to get hurt here. You hate to see that. Hopefully his injury is not too serious. But that being said, though, 4th down coming up, and Buffalo's going to have to go ahead, punt this thing away here. Still a close game. Still anyone's ball game. And it gets in the hands of Mark Subar, who has all the space in the world and takes it all the way to the crib. Touchdown, Akron. And Akron now finally takes his first lead of the game. 28-24 advantage Akron, as we go ahead. See Jones over the middle. Finds Subar in the end zone. Mark Subar, by the way, just taking over in this game. It might put an early dagger in the Buffalo Bulls, as we see an epic collapse for Buffalo as late in the 4th quarter. 38-24. Jones looks over the left-hand side. Does get it out into the end zone. A touchdown for Buffalo. So Tony Reed at least getting a clean pocket there to go past it, but that is going to end this game, though, as Buffalo does end up failing to get the onside kick. And Akron, they rally back here in the second half. They beat the Buffalo Bulls by a final score of 38-31. Akron looking to hop into that top 10. We'll see if it happens for them or not, but a good win for them nonetheless, as they have played in every single game so far, or at least every single week, and they're 6-1. So it should be an easier second half of the season for them, as they'll have some bye weeks here next few weeks. But we'll check in on another top 10 team, James Madison. This was actually the game chosen by you guys as the channel members, which, by the way, if you're interested in being a channel member and having some direct input into the what FCS games are showed in each episode, definitely check that out. That is linked in the description. But Delaware State, they are in an interesting position. I say interesting position, but because they currently have the longest losing streak in college football down here at the FCS level. They have, coming into this game, a 14-game losing streak. 14 games And now they got to take on one of the best teams in the country, James Madison. Off to a sluggish start. Only 2-2 so far, but we'll see if they can start finding their footing. We saw a little bit of that last week when they played up against Bethune-Cookman. As Stephen Rogers will take the snap under center. Delaware State, they try to send the blitz, but it ends up just hurting them because it ends up one-on-one the outside, and James Madison, they got one of the best wide receiver cores in the FCS. Brad Drowsy, really talented freshman. That's only his 7th catch of the season, and that's also his first career touchdown. So congratulations to Brad Drowsy, the true freshman custom recruit. As now we'll see if Stephen Rogers will fire it into the end zone as well, and it ends up being deflected away. David Forn was the target, and Delaware State prevents the touchdown, at least in that instance. We'll see if that keeps going here as we have a goal line situation on the 1. Stephen Rogers actually could have ran the football into the end zone, but hey, he wants to get those passing numbers up as well. And it's only 1/4 of football. You can already tell he's playing with Delaware State right now. That is Kevin Crum, the tight end, that is going to get into the end zone. And it's a 14-0 lead for James Madison. Next drive, early in the second quarter, BJ Bowers able to find a clean hole. A team that does not run the football very often, but that time they choose to go to one of the more underrated running backs in the FCS, and Delaware State pays for it 21-0. And it's not even like they're making it a ton of turnovers or anything like that, providing easy opportunities. Well, this will be an easy opportunity. David Forn taking it into the crib. 28-0 is going to be your score right now, right? But that being said, 28-0 being the score. Just Delaware State right now, they do not have the athletes to keep up with James Madison. That's just how it is right now, even within the same conference. And speaking of athleticism, Jody Gentry running away from the defense as well. And that boy is going to be gone like a girl in a country song. That's a 78-yard touchdown. One-on-one coverage. Jody Gentry threw it up for him, and the 5-star comes down with it. Didn't even stand a chance. And it's now 35-0 here. We'll see if Delaware State can do literally anything to slow this James Madison squad down as Rogers facing the blitz. But wait a minute, we actually have an interception. Brad Drowsy and Jody Gentry will ultimately combine for the tackle, but Stephen Rogers will end up being intercepted. That has been an issue for him in his first year as the starter. He has been turnover prone, and it leads to Delaware State getting a field goal on the board. But next drive, Stephen Rogers, he's going to redeem himself and gets it out to Jody Gentry, who is going to high step his way into the end zone. Touchdown, Dukes. And James Madison, 42-3 being the score right there. Just absolute destruction of their conference opponent. And we still got a 1/4 left to play. Rogers drops back again. This time, looking to the left-hand side. David Forn, it initially was deflected away. That was solid defense. Just sometimes it's just a little bit better to be lucky than it is to be good. We saw that there. Double coverage. Should have at least been an incompletion, but instead a long gain. And it's going to lead to yet another touchdown for No! It's not another touchdown. It's a fumble instead. Delaware State actually does something. They force a fumble. And a little bit of a bright spot there, especially towards the end of the game. But James Madison still blows them out. And Delaware State, their losing streak extends to 16 games. So while we were getting those early games going, we have some interesting FCS action going on around the league. Let's go ahead and check that out now for at least these early games. As we go to Friday night, Utah State takes on Northern Colorado, and Utah State blows the doors off. Huge blowout for them, winning 42-10. That improves their record to 5-1, while Northern Colorado is now 1-4. As for Rice, they will continue to actually be undefeated on the season. This time they played host to Villanova, and the Rice Owls were able to win 45-21. Rice continuing their great season. As for Temple, they'll also look to get back to the FCS playoffs for the first time in year number 1, and they do what they're supposed to do here, beating Southern Illinois 39-25. The Salukis still, however, looking for that first win of the season. San Diego State, meanwhile, continues its march to the FCS playoffs as well. Haven't seen them lose a single regular season game yet in this series. That's been really impressive. They win 40-21 in this one in Mountain West play against South Dakota State. UCF also doing a similar thing. Highest ranked team that has lost a game, actually. They're number 4 in the country and will remain in the top 5 with this 38-24 win over Towson. William & Mary, however, they kind of slid a little bit since year number 1, but they're still a solid football team, though, despite what their record shows. They beat Northwestern on the road, winning 37-7 in an impressive blowout in Conference USA play. So we jump into the evening action here, and honestly, one of the better non-conference matchups that we're going to get throughout the season. We got Eastern Illinois taking on the Nicholls State Colonels, number 21 in the country, taking on the Eastern Illinois squad, who isn't ranked, but they are in the top 30. They are receiving votes in the AP top 25 poll, and generally two teams that are on the rise, both trying to make their first FCS playoff appearance in this series. As we'll kick things up here, Frederick McNair trying to get it into the end zone, but Frederick McNair is going to be intercepted by a fellow custom, Russell Matthews. And Russell Matthews, the true freshman, able to make him pay for it. Great defense there in the end zone. Surprised that Nicholls State did not run the football there. They are more of a run-heavy squad. And now Eastern Illinois gets a chance with the football. Dropping back to pass, trying to respond right away. And finds a wide open, butt-naked man. Touchdown, Eastern Illinois. That's Ralph Rags, the sophomore custom, that is able to break the top off the defense. And beautiful job selling that play action as well, making all of that possible. And Ralph Ruggs with just enough foot speed to pull away from everybody. And Eastern Illinois starting off strong. They get that interception and then coming right back with a touchdown. You absolutely love to see it. But then I'm showing a kickoff. Now when I show kickoffs, something is about to go down, and sure enough, it does. Deuce Randolph, the sophomore custom, gonna take it all the way to the crib. 100-yard kick return touchdown, and this thing is all knotted up once again. As now Eastern Illinois has the football back. They had a good first drive, best possible outcome, and that is a touchdown. We'll see if they can repeat that here once again against a solid Nicholls State defense. As now 2nd and 16 coming up, dropping back, looking over the left-hand side, but it's going to be intercepted. Henry Johnson able to get his hands on the football. His 4th interception of the season already. He has been an absolute ball hawk, and unfortunately that poor quarterback made the mistake of throwing his way. Ralph Ruggs, by the way, was the intended target. And Eastern Illinois, after the strong start that they had, they just cannot get out of their own way. Just got a turnover. They had the kick return touchdown when they took the lead. They also had the interception, and now we got a fumble recovery. And it's honestly a minor miracle that Eastern Illinois is still in this game. Only a 1-possession game still. Shows how closely matched these two teams were. As now, drawing back the pass, trying to make some magic happen. And that's also intercepted, but maybe at a price. Barry Branchard is going to injure his leg while on the play, and just not looking good. He actually breaks his fibula, so he's going to be out for 11 weeks. So that's at least for the rest of the regular season. If they make the playoffs, that's in doubt too. So we hope for his speedy recovery as Nicholls State will take over. We actually see them pass the football. It's a custom-to-custom connection. Frederick McNair able to fire it into the end zone, finding Speedy Woods, who lives up to his first name. Mama knew what he was doing. Must have been an athletic family that he came from. As it's now 20-7. How about 27-7 as we got Deuce Randolph getting his 2nd touchdown here of the ball game. As Eastern Illinois, they try to send the blitz, and that just leaves a running back on a linebacker. That's a mismatch that I'm taking 10 times out of 10. You cannot do anything about that. And Eastern Illinois, they got a significant deficit, and they are not doing themselves any favors either. Yet another turnover. This is the 4th turnover that Nicholls State has forced on the defensive end. Just a dominating game for the Colonels here on their home field, and yet it still remains 27-7. So we'll see if Eastern Illinois can get his act together. 2 for 5 on 3rd down conversions, trying to pass for the 1st down. Nicholls State, they send the blitz. That's the tight end that's going to come down with the football and almost plowing his way into the end zone. Nice pass there by John Robinson. Good decision, who, by the way, does remain in the game, even though he does have 3 interceptions already. So here we go. Goal line situation set up at the 8-yard line after a couple of losses. Robinson looks over the middle, and that's intercepted too. Nicholls State defense, an A-plus day so far. 5 turnovers forced. Now it's supposed to go to the receiver who's sitting in the zone. He was open, but John Robinson just misses him. He's just having a really off day today. Just look at the turnover difference. 6-1 is this turnover difference right now. I have never seen anything like it. At least not this bad. But it's you hate to see it. Is now 27-9. They do end up forcing a safety off screen. Robinson does end up also throwing a touchdown. Now they will end up going for the 2-point conversion here to see if they can make this a 10-point game instead of a 12-point game, so that they don't have to go for 2 touchdowns. They do fail in the 2-point conversion, and Nicholls State is able to run out almost all of the clock. John Robinson tries to at least make this scoreboard look a little bit more interesting, but instead, interception numbers look even worse. 7 turnovers today. 7 turnovers that Eastern Illinois had in this game. And even then, they still only lost by 12. So if you're Eastern Illinois, it sucks. You hate to see it that they shot themselves in the foot so many gosh darn times, but yet in spite of that, it was still a relatively close game. So if they can clean things up as they're, starting to get into the meat of conference play, they can still find themselves in the FCS playoffs. Definitely some work that needs to be done. They're going to fall to 3-2. Good win for Nicholls State, though. A quality win that will get them to 5-1 as they're on track to make it to the FCS playoffs. So we jump into yet another top 25 matchup here, a top 15 matchup. This is actually not only the thumbnail game that you guys see clicking onto this video, but this is also the rematch of the SEC championship, not only from year 1, but also year number 2. In Northwestern State, they're at home. They're actually going to be favored as well. Number 5 team in the nation, taking on the number 12 ranked Georgia Southern Eagles. As Georgia Southern will start with the football 3rd and long as Ikeda Woods. He's actually going to try to pass. We don't see a lot of this from him, but Ikeda Woods makes them pay for it. Touchdown, Eagles. Ikeda Woods, 5'6", able to roll out to the outside. He had a clear viewing window. As Northwestern State, man, they sent the blitz. They had them sucked in. They are so concerned about the running ability of Ikeda Woods. They forgot that, at times, he is a quarterback, of course, so he will pass the football occasionally. But we all know what his strength is. Ikeda Woods, just so athletic. Even at 5'6", he stays pretty healthy as well for all the hits that he does end up taking as an option quarterback. And man, he is just impossible to stop, it seems like. Ikeda Woods fakes the pitch. Now he pitches it a second time. And now we will see Georgia Southern with a rushing touchdown, as that's the backup, Brandon Williams, who's going to eventually receive the pitch. And yeah, he had to work through a few defenders, but he made it happen. So Northwestern State in some deep trouble here. Already down 14-0. They need a spark, and they need a spark right now. We'll see if they can get it on this kickoff return. We'll win him now. We got a clean wall. Is it going to be a flag? There's no flags on the field. At the 30, the 20, it's going to be gone. Like a girl in a country song. Touchdown, Northwestern State, and they get on the board. And that will help the Demons get right back into this game. But they need, here's the $1,000,000 question. Can they stop this rushing game? And right now, that is a really emphatic no at the moment. They are riding that struggle bus. That is even with Miniachi being hurt at the moment. That's the crazy part. So they're not even at full strength as Georgia Southern team is. And they're proving some people wrong here today, I'll tell you what. But 14-7, that's the score right now. Ikeda Woods, he's thinking about passing it. He does end up passing it, and it ends up going into the end zone. Touchdowns, Georgia Southern. So 2 passing touchdowns for Ikeda Woods, just doing both the passing and the running. You want to talk about dual threat quarterbacks, he might be the best of them, as look who comes back into the game. Albert Miniachi. He's feeling better. He got shook up early in the game, and now he's back on the field, man. He's doing some good things. 31-7 being the score. Georgia Southern blowing out a top 5 team in the country. Think about that. Absolutely insane, as Joe Pleasant's going to get his 17th career sack after really getting a free run at Matt Lewis. Georgia Southern sent the blitz, and there was not good communication. So now a 3rd and forever, as Matt Lewis is looking for somebody to get open downfield. It's hard to be in that kind of situation, and we saw a little bit of that right there, as that is going to make it 4th and 29. So not only is it 4th down, but they're going to be punting out their own end zone. We'll see if Georgia Southern can get to this punt. They don't get to him. The punt is able to get off, but not a good punt. Miniachi works at it from the 40-yard line, and no one's going to be able to catch him either. Yet another touchdown. What has been a dominant, and I mean dominant, performance for Georgia Southern in this one. They're going to win this game 45-7, and that is a huge performance for the Eagles, as that should get them into the top 10 for sure. So we jump into what is the game of the week, and we got a top 10 matchup for you guys. Number 10, Kent State, the defending national champions. They're taking on the number 3 ranked Central Michigan Chippewas, as both teams now entering the field. Huge game for both squads, as MAC conference game has some implications in the conference, and who goes to that conference championship or not, is they're going to have to find a way for Kent State to key in on Chris Wilson. He's been having a good year so far, as Lee Corso will go ahead and make his pick, and he's going to actually pick the Chippewas of Central Michigan, and we'll see why here, as 4th down. Central Michigan, of course, one of the best 4th down conversion teams in the country. 100% when they decide to go for it, and they decide to go for it all. Marcus Watkins, he tried to play with the house money, and he's going to win himself a brand new house, especially with the NIL deal probably. But 7-0 lead in favor of Central Michigan. And the Chippewas early are looking sharp, man. They get a good touchdown throw there as well. It's a quick 14-0 lead. Defending national champions in their home stadium, doesn't matter. And now Kent State is on their heels, down by 2 scores already. Tyler Williams tries to throw it up, but it's dropped, and it ends up being intercepted there as well. No one's able to catch that DB, and that is going to be taken straight back to the crib. 21-0. The defending national champions, they're not looking like themselves right now. I'm going to be honest with you, not a good game thus far. As will the dominance continue. Watkins, clean pocket. He's going to fire this thing. Touchdown, number 3 for Mandy Anderson. Although Anderson does come up a little bit shaken up while trying to go for that touchdown. He does complete the process of the catch. But man, hopefully he's not hurt for too terribly long. Not that Central Michigan will need him right away, as it's just complete dominance for the Chippewa squad. 35-0 is your guys' current score right now. This is the defending national champions being absolutely crushed, whipped around, flabbergasted, whatever adjective that you want to throw out there right now. It's happening to Kent State. 42-0 is the score. And I'm assuming if Kent State, unless they pull a great comeback, they don't. Losing 52-7, we might be starting to see the downfall of the Kent State dynasty. We'll see what happens this year. So while we are waiting for the late night games to kick off, we do get confirmation of another top 15 team in action, New Mexico State, going on the road to take on Oral Roberts, as the Aggies, they do remain undefeated, winning 45-24 on the road. which does improve New Mexico State's record of 5-0, while Oral Roberts is going to drop to 2-4 and is currently experiencing a 2-game losing streak. But now we get into the nighttime action, and one of the greatest rivalry games in the FCS. We got the Brawl of the Wild, pitting the two teams in the state of Montana, two teams that have aspirations to go to the FCS playoffs this year. Montana State taking on the number 19 ranked Montana Grizzlies, and both teams are definitely in the hunt, not only to make it to the FCS playoffs, but to potentially win the Pac-10 conference. That would be a big deal for both teams. Montana did win it in year number 1, while Montana State, the lesser team in this state, they are trying to get to their first FCS playoff appearance, and they're in the hunt to do that right now. But they need to win this game against Montana in order to really solidify those hopes and dreams. They did fall to the top 25 last week after an embarrassing loss to Weber State. As now, we see Montana State coming through and playing some good football, defensive football early, getting the fumble while Montana is trying to put together a pretty solid drive there. As now Montana State starts with the football at the 48-yard line because of that turnover. And unfortunately, they can't do anything with it, but they're going to need some plays like that in order to win this football game and not give up some lapses on defense like that. Travis Slaughter able to find a really good receiver down the seam. And the first time today, we got ourselves a goal line situation. First and goal from the 6-yard line. Slaughter gonna drop back to pass. No, he's gonna run for the first down. And not only is he gonna get that first down, he's gonna get the touchdown as well. Travis Slaughter gonna strike first blood here in the Brawl of the Wild. As now Maurice Billings got that pressure put on him. Let's see if he can be built different, but instead he's going to be intercepted, and that's gonna be taken to the grib. Touchdown, Montana. Sean Goodwin, the true freshman, able to pick off one of the more experienced quarterbacks in the Pac-10 conference, and it's a 14-0 lead. Grizzlies off to a great start and continue to be off to that great start. Sean Goodwin, man, true freshman, playing his heart out here in this Brawl of the Wild. I will tell you what, that's already a second interception today. Just playing some opportunistic football, that's for sure. As Montana will jump to a 16-0 lead. Slaughter looking to make it an even bigger one. He's going to try to run for the first down, but he fumbles the football, and it's going to be recovered by Montana State. So it's been all Montana so far for the most part, but we'll see if this gets the Bobcats going a little bit. First and 10 from the 38. Decent field position to start, as Billings will throw over the middle, finds his receiver, and is going to make the catch. Huge first down. That will get Montana State on the verge of field goal range for the very first time. We'll see if they can get some points and get rid of that goose egg out the board as they go for a little bit of a reverse. Maurice Van gets it. Thought originally it was going to be a loss behind the line of scrimmage, and instead breaks some tackles. Nice block, by the way, by Maurice Billings to help on the outside. And Montana State's going to get on the board because of that. Let's go, baby. So 16-7 performance right now. Montana State looking to go deep downfield and finds Maurice Vance again. And just like that, just at the snap of a finger, Bobcats right back into the ball game, playing tough here in this hostile environment here in this Brawl of the Wild. But here we go, 34 seconds left here in the first half. Travis Slaughter with a chance to make this a 2-score game before we go into the locker room. High snap, still gets it, throws it over the left-hand side. He's got a receiver, and it's caught. Touchdown, Montana. And after the extra point, they will do what they set out to accomplish, making this a 2-possession game before we go into the halftime locker room. But the Bobcats start with the football, 23-14 being the score. We'll see what kind of adjustments that Montana State makes as they need Maurice Billings to play his heart out here in the second half. Facing some pressure though, but gets it out to the custom Kev Stamper, who is a true freshman himself. And that is going to put themselves in Montana territory once again. We'll see if they go back to him. looking over the left-hand side. It's Maurice Van on the outside. Gets hit out of bounds for the most part. But Maurice Van having himself a day as well. Already over 100 yards of total offense. And Montana State is in the red zone. Great block, by the way, by Kev Stamper. We'll see if he gets reward for that great block that adds a few yards on the yak. And sure enough, he does. Curl pattern. Kev Stamper comes down with it. And that's a touchdown for the Bobcats. Montana State pulls within just a couple of points. It's a close game here in the Brawl of the Wild. Travis Slaughter looking to possibly help with the score, but instead Montana State now gets put in a position, and all of a sudden we're talking about Montana State taking the lead. This team was down 16-0 early, and now they could take the lead. They're in field goal range too. They're going to try to run for it, but they put the ball on the ground too. And it ends up being recovered. Oh no. We've seen a few turnovers in this game already, but that is a really critical one right now. You got to hang on to that football. Thankfully, it doesn't cost the Bobcats, but that certainly was a golden opportunity, and the turnovers keep coming. This time, Montana does make them pay for it, as that's taken all the way back to the crib. Touchdown, Grizzlies! And man, Montana State continues to shoot themselves in the foot at these critical times in the game. It's now a 9-point ball game. 2 possessions. Billings gonna get intercepted again, and it's gonna be taken to the crib once again. There was a lot of turnovers in this game. We've seen a lot of turnovers right now, but Montana State, they are absolutely imploding right now, particularly Maurice Billings. You gotta make a better throw than that. You just have to take the sack. And now a 16-point game. Not only do we need touchdowns, but they gotta go for the 2-point conversion. But looking for Maurice Van in the end zone. That's not gonna happen. Again, Sean Goodwin. Right place, right time. That's his 3rd interception of this game. Of the entire game so far. Huge performance for him. And now Montana's in a spot to potentially put this game away. And it looks like they might be doing that, as that's going to be taken into the end zone. Touchdown, Montana. That's going to really open this lead up. 44-21 is going to be your score at this point. And we'll see if Montana runs up the score a little bit now that the game is pretty much going to be in hand. This is their rivals after all. They're going to look to make a point. 3:17 left to play in the game. I'm going to go ahead and kick the ball off back to Montana State. We'll see if they can make things interesting here in the final few minutes. Maurice Van trying to take it back on the kick return, but that's fumbled. And that will be recovered by Montana. And of course, they do what they do. They do end up putting up the 50-burger. Travis Slaughter didn't need to pitch that, but, showing a little bit of love to the running back anyways. This game was a lot closer than what the scoreboard's going to show. It ends up being a 51-28 victory for Montana. They do win the rivalry game in the Brawl of the Wild, just the difference ends up being the turnover difference. Montana did turn the football over quite a few times, but Montana State shot themselves in the foot so many times, it does ultimately cost them. So we'll see if we get a little bit of a cleaner game in another Pac-10 conference matchup. North Dakota State taking on the Wildcats of Weber State. Both teams above 500. They've got 3 wins each so far. As Weber State, they're coming off of a huge victory against Montana State, who did also beat so Weber State, they did beat Montana State, and Montana State beat North Dakota State. Wow, absolute brain fart there. We'll see if Weber State, that does help them in terms of pulling off this upset as well. Would be a huge win for this program. But North Dakota State, they are built different. One of the best rushing attacks in the country. We'll see if Weber State is ready for it, as AJ Ferguson's going to keep it on the ground early. Going to sidestep, gets it out on the perimeter to Anderson, and already North Dakota State under threat to score. 38-yard run on the outside. this was going to be a big test for Weber State. How is that defensive front going to hold up in this game? They already gave up a huge rush, so probably not great. As the fullback, we do get our first fullback touchdown. Fullback U completely alive, and somewhere out there, not the expert, is going to be smiling as the Bison take an early 7-0 lead here. As we go ahead and see Weber State punt the football away after a free and out for the Wildcats as they make the mistake of getting it out to Mike Sapp, who puts a nasty spin move. I didn't realize we were at the laundromat. And that's also a touchdown for the Bison. 14-0. As now Ferguson later on in the game gets it out to Anderson again on the pitch. Don't know how that pitch was completed without any troubles, but here we are. Barbecue on the titties, and Ken Anderson is gonna also get his first touchdown in the game. We're still in the first quarter, by the way. It's 21-0. Weber State absolutely being taken to the woodshed early on in this ball game, as they just don't have any answers for that North Dakota State defense, as Mike Sapp once again gets his second punt return touchdown of the ball game. That makes it 28-0. And we still got 3 more quarters left to go. Things slow down, so it's still the same score late in the second quarter, but eventually the Bison do go ahead and run it into the end zone once more. Touchdown Bison, and it's 35-0. 35-0 being the score right now. North Dakota State absolutely going off. Still feeling some type of way, I would imagine, from their loss to Montana State a couple weeks ago, as Mike Sapp, I don't know how he manages to get out of that. But look at this. There was so many guys around him, and yet none of them capable of bringing him down. It's 42-0. And Weber State, they're not even turning the football over. They are just being absolutely manhandled. That's a terrible punt, by the way. Corner punt, and Mike Sapp able to take that all the way to the crib as well. Touchdown, North Dakota State. And boy, did they set a message here on the road. And they blow out Weber State in this one. 70-0 is going to end up being that final score in this ball game. Absolutely nuts. So for the final game of this episode, we do go back up. Well, we keep it up north technically. We do go check in on the Samford Bulldogs, undefeated and number 16 in the country, taking on the Murray State Racers, who, despite being known for their speed, they are off to a slow start. 1-4 overall, but they do have a decent conference record. Murray State, at this point, their only hope to make it to the FCS playoffs is to win their conference. They will probably not be good enough to get an at-large bid, so they need to win their conference if they want to make their first FCS appearance. And it starts here, beating this Samford squad, who's been having a really resurgent year. Just 6-5 last year, already off to a 4-0 start. As now we'll go ahead and jump right into it. We'll see what Samford can do in their conference matchup against the Murray State Racers, as early on Murray State's able to put together a drive, but is going to be intercepted here eventually. So the Samford defense early on, it does end up bending a little bit, but it does not break, as this game will still remain tied here at 0 apiece. As that was really getting some great pressure on the quarterback that really forced that. And now Samford will take over at about the 15-yard line, and out comes St.Thomas Tommies, who has been a great quarterback so far. Makes a man miss. How about this? Ashton Hines downfield. Oh my, 32-yard rush. That's why I really love Ashton Hines. In terms of being a dual threat quarterback, he is certainly really underrated in that regard. As speaking of Hines, he's going to try to throw down to the left-hand side, and it's a beautifully thrown ball. As Seth Randolph, the sophomore custom, cannot catch up, and that is going to be a touchdown for the Samford Bulldogs there. Perfect spot for Ashton Hines, as it just barely gets over the outstretched arms of Seth Randolph. And Samford takes the lead here, 7-0. But the following kickoff, we might see some magic happen. Hang on now, what do we got? Is that Seth Randolph? Yes, it is! Down the sideline, and mama, there goes that man. even celebrating down the sideline too. Huge touchdown for Murray State. And now this game is all tied up again. We're in the second quarter. Still anybody's ball game at this point. They are not playing like a 1-4 team. That's what they've been missing from this entire team. This is a solid football team that Murray State is. They just haven't been able to play it all together. And it's showing right now. Maybe this is the aha moment that we've been looking for this Murray State squad. As we got 4 minutes left to play. Goal line situation. Got some clean pocket to work with. And sure enough, Murray State, they actually take the lead here. It's 14-7. That was just a great job creating a clean pocket. Able to get it out to Brandon Rice, who's been getting plenty of targets here early. And that's another touchdown for the Racers, as they will race to a 7-point lead. As now pressure put on Ashton Hines, who tries to throw down the left-hand side. Nice catch, though. And now Samford finds itself back in business. Hines, nice throw there. Double coverage, but able to beat the safety. And it's now in Murray State territory. We're going to get this a tie ball game, but trying to get it out to Asante Randolph Jr., the true freshman custom. And it's going to end up being intercepted instead. So, promising drive here for the Samford Bulldogs, but it will not lead to any points, sadly. The turnover ends it all. But Murray State can't do anything with the football after the turnover either. So, still a 7-point game. Ashton Hines continuing to be aggressive, but maybe is being a tad too aggressive now. You love to see quarterbacks being aggressive and being confident in their arm and in their receivers, but double coverage, and Murray State, they did have the leverage there. Probably would have kept the football to himself, and Murray State is going to make him pay for it this time. Or at least I think they will. That's going to be inside the 15-yard line. First down for the Bulldogs there, as Murray State looking to get the upset alert bells ringing in the final game of this episode. Dropping back, looks over the middle. It's a diving catch. It is going to be a touchdown for Murray State. Another score that makes it 21-7. I did not see this coming. Upset alert bells. They got to be ringing now. As now we'll see if Ashton Hines can lead his team down the field before getting to the end of the first half. But so far, not so good. Contain working really well. And it forces them to a 3rd and long. Murray State, they send the blitz, and they were able to get home as well. So Samford, they got to go ahead and throw the football, not throw the football away, but they do have to punt the football away there. And that also is ending up being caught there by the aforementioned Brandon Rice. Absolutely great day so far for him. As now, here we go. 45 seconds left to play here in the first half. Inside the 5-yard line, can they add more points onto the board? Dropping back, facing some pressure, and it's intercepted. It is going to be picked off by Julius Bernard. Now helped his Samford team, at least as of right now. But we jump into the fourth quarter now. It is still the same score, a 21-10 game. As Ashton Hines, he needs to put together a great quarter if he wants to keep his team undefeated. Tried to check it down to Asante Randolph Jr., and that also is going to be intercepted. Tough day for Ashton Hines in this one. 3rd interception that he ends up throwing, and we're in time becoming a crucial factor right now as Murray State able to march down the field, and it's going to be a touchdown for Murray State. The Racers are racing away from the Samford Bulldogs as the upset alert, it could very well happen right here. 28-10. And how about this for a potential exclamation point? Oh, he couldn't get it into the end zone, no. But Chris Harper might have just absolutely put the nails in the coffin in this one. Harper has been bottled up all game long, but he finds a hole here late in the game when it matters the most. Jabari Thomas does make the tackle, but it still doesn't change the fact that Murray State, they're going to get yet another touchdown on the board. 35-10. it is going to be your final score, and just absolutely shocked. Not that Murray State won the game, but by the margin of victory, this ends up being a 25-point win against a top 25 team when, you haven't really done much in year number 3 as a football team. This might be able to get Murray State going here late in the season. We'll see if this is the spark plug that is necessary for Murray State to potentially do some things in terms of trying to win that conference championship, as the Racers will improve to 2-4, while Samford, they will take their first loss of the season. So no need to panic if you're rooting for this Samford squad, but definitely some things that need to be worked on. Now, before we go check out the newest edition of the ESPN magazine, let's go ahead and check out some more 8 p.m. games that happened that could have some potential impact on the top 25 polls. Starting with Arkansas State taking on North Texas, and Arkansas State will actually take their first loss of the season. They lose to North Texas 24-16, and there's a good chance that they might actually fall outside of the top 25 given their current position. As for Eastern Michigan, they will not have any such problems as they took on Western Illinois on the road and win convincingly, winning 49-14 in order to bolster their record up to 4-2. Eastern Carolina, meanwhile, still kind of struggling a little bit, 4-2 now because of this game, but not exactly looking dominant or convincing. They beat the Hofstra football team 21-6 on the road, but that should for now keep them in that top 20 range. Tennessee State, meanwhile, will not have the luxury of remaining in the top 25 as they lose a defensive slugfest against the Eastern Kentucky Colonels. They lose 10-7 in this game, so Tennessee State falls to 500 and will probably not be ranked in the top 25 when the newest polls are released. And finally, we had a Sunday game, which we usually don't see in college football. It was Tulane taking on Charleston, and Tulane ends up winning that game 31-19. They just entered the top 25 recently, and for now, they should stay there. In addition, there was 2 other top 25 teams that got busy with it, Western Carolina being one of them as well. They played Alcorn State in conference play, and the Catamounts looked good in this one, winning 45-14. The Catamounts improving to 4-1, while Alcorn State stumbles out of the gate. Speaking of stumbling out of the gate, Youngstown State also doing the same thing as they take yet another loss here, this time in Big Ten play, losing narrowly to Southeast Missouri State 24-21. That will keep the Red Hawks in the top 15 as well. And now we'll go ahead and check to see what this ESPN magazine has in store for us. So we take a look at the newest cover of the Sports Illustrated magazine associated with this dynasty, and we're out here. We got the Akron quarterback on the cover. Could be a Heisman dark horse potentially, but first we got to go ahead and check out and see if there's any changes into the top 25 poll. And sure enough, there is some adjustments that are being made. For example, we do have both Western Carolina and James Madison both moving up one spot. Rice also moving up a spot as well. They are the least ranked team in this FCS dynasty that we got going on right now that does have first place votes. They have 2 first place votes, but we do also see North Dakota State move up a spot. Georgia's Southern, they move up 3 spots as well. Akron is also now in the top 10 after their win against Buffalo. But the biggest change that we see in the top 15 is Northwestern State. They did end up getting blown out by Georgia Southern, so of course Georgia Southern does hop ahead of Northwestern State because of that, and the Demons are now down to number 11 in the country. But other than that, nothing too crazy here in the top 15. Southeast Missouri State's number 12. Eastern Carolina is number 14. They move up multiple spots, and so does Eastern Carolina. As for the second part of this top 25 poll, we do have Montana at number 16 in the country. Nicholls State up to 17 after a 4-spot jump thanks to their 12-point win against Eastern Illinois. Temple, they're up to number 18 in the nation. Kent State, however, still hanging on to the top 25. They take the biggest drop in the AP poll in spite of still being ranked. Down 9 spots, they're down to number 19. And now are in the danger zone in terms of possibly making it to the FCS playoffs in general. as an at-large bid if they do not end up winning their conference qualifier. There is a couple of new teams in the poll this week. Utah State, they get in 5-1. It's a strong start. They're number 22 in the country. And then the Troy Trojans from the Sun Belt Conference, they do not have an automatic qualifier, but Troy looks like they have the best shot right now, 4-1, including a huge win earlier this year against Georgia Southern. Now, as for two of the teams that jumped out, that was Arkansas State and Tennessee State. And not only that, Tennessee State, they aren't even receiving any votes at the moment, so it's pretty rough for them. Chattanooga, Tennessee Martin, NCAA State, Montana State, and Texas Southern, plus Eastern Illinois. Those are schools that are receiving some additional votes right now and trying to work their way in to the top 25. As for the Heisman watch, we still have somebody at the very top right now, Terrence Jones, the senior redshirt from Akron. Good, solid performance from him. It wasn't a great performance by any means, but he did end up with 3 total touchdowns in spite of not having a completion percentage above 50%. But that being said, the freshman redshirt Ryan Vaughn, he's trying to close that gap. He was brilliant against the Jackrabbits. 33 for 47, 427 yards, 4 touchdowns. Much more impressive, even though they did play against a lesser team. So Ryan Vaughn sits at number 2. In the third spot for the Heisman watch, we got Michael Williams, who jumps down to number 3, even though Michael Williams actually did put together a pretty solid performance. Only had 4 catches, but was very efficient with those catches. 118 yards in total, but yet that is not enough to maintain a spot in the top 2. And then rounding out the group, we got Marty Subar, the true sophomore representing for the Akron Zips. He already has over 1,000 all-purpose yards in this season. And rounding out the group as well, we got senior redshirt Sammy Jefferson, 46 receptions, 614 yards, 7 touchdowns, leading a very lethal Aztec offense as San Diego State looks to have one of the top seeds in the FCS playoffs once again. Speaking of really impressive performances, though, we got the NCAA Players of the Week, both from games that we did end up watching in this episode. Starting with the offensive side of football, Mike Sapp goes off against Weber State on the road as well. The senior wide receiver ends up with 4 total touchdowns throughout the game and also ends up with over 230 all-purpose yards to go with all of that as well. So needless to say, Mike Sapp making sure that his North Dakota State squad gets back on track in this one. And we sort of show it there, really showing a different side ever since that loss to Montana State a couple of weeks ago. But then we go to the defensive side of football, also coming from that Pac-10 conference, the Montana cornerback Sean Goodwin, who is a true freshman and is getting some early playing time, making the most of it as they played in the brawl of the Wild West, taking on Montana State. Obviously, Montana won. We did see that in gameplay, but Sean Goodwin was electric. 4 tackles, picks off Maurice Billings 3 times, even has a pick 6 that he takes to the crib. It helps propel Montana to a 4-1 record as they try to get back to the FCS playoffs for the very first time since year number 1. So that'll wrap things up here in this episode. And guys, we are already halfway through the regular season here in year number 3. It's been once again an exciting season that I have been thoroughly enjoying, and I hope you guys have been really enjoying the content here in this FCS series, a all-time series for me, and I truly appreciate you guys' support from the very bottom of my heart. But next episode we will have week 8 gameplay that is going to once again feature multiple top 25 matchups, and it will help provide some more clarity in terms of who has a legitimate shot to make it to the FCS playoffs when the dust is completely settled. So I'll leave that for the next episode. But in the meantime, if you enjoyed what you saw here today, I would really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart if you smash that like button for me. Hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand new. This is John J. Gaming on the mic signing off, but I'm hoping you're all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.